Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. What is going to happen if the West really takes the Russians' assets? You know, the $300 billion invested in the West. So, what happens? What do you think Russia will do? And what do you think they should do? Not what they say they will do, but what do you think they should do? Because sometimes, the Russians say we'll do this, but I would say no. I hope you will do this instead. Well, we have Vladimir Putin explaining what will happen if West robs Russia's reserves. Right there. So Putin, this is from the 26th of June. Putin explains what will happen if West robs Russia's reserves. Not seize, robs. Well, if you're not aware with what happened when Russia entered Ukraine, penetrated Ukraine, let's put it this way, the West decided to make Russia behave by attacking Russia in any way, shape, or form, except troops actively shooting at the Russians. So they start with sanctions. They thought they have so much power that the Russians will, that Russia will collapse economically, politically, as a society, militarily, and everything. They're going to have another Bolshevik revolution, and they will come again to suck Russia dry of its resources, like they did after the Bolshevik revolution. Well, it didn't happen. So then they started more sanctions and more sanctions. And one of these moves, some Western entities froze Russian assets invested in the West worth about $300 billion. And then little by little, they said that they will take the receipts for those, through the interest and so on. They produced money. Those interests, they will use the proceeds to help the Ukrainians fight the Russians, actually helping the West continue to fight the Russians with the Ukrainians' lives. That's what basically it is. So then I thought, if I were Putin, I tell you straight, if I have been Putin, but I'm not, and that's why he's over there and I'm over here. Anyway, is big. He knows much more, obviously, and so on. I would have threatened these guys straight on. Guys, you do this, that's a war declaration for me. And maybe I'm going to be ready for something with you. And that's it, man. I'm going to give you a bloody nose until you're going to stop doing what we know you're doing. You're trying to break us, the Russian Federation. So, but he didn't do that. He said, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do, okay, whatever. Now Putin comes and says, this is what's going to happen. Let's see. And I'm disappointed, just to start with. Seizing the frozen funds would hasten the shift to regional payment systems. The president has said, that is, people will not trust the SWIFT and other communications and transactions methods. They will do it like barter to one another. They're going to probably drop the dollar if they are courageous enough, because the Americans will bomb them the next day. So they will drop the dollars and will probably exchange goods and services in their own currencies. And that's going to be bad for the globalists. Any attempt by the West to seize Russia's frozen reserves would set off an irreversible shift towards regional payment systems, which would ultimately benefit the global economy. That's something I said many times before. Russia is an example for all to see that if you don't follow the orders, they will hurt you. Why? Because it seems like you with your economy, hooked to the Western way of doing things. And those institutions were created by and for these Western interests. So when you go and you're even hooking yourself, or they grab you and drag you in, they put you in their system. So when they want to hurt you, they get you out of the system so you can't do business anymore with us. But you can do with the rest of the world. But since we are the richest, you don't have the privilege on doing business with us. And then you're dying because you depend on us. Interdependency, that's how it's globalism. Interdependency. The American needs medication, takes it from China. China needs food, gets it from America, let's say. Therefore, if I get in a war with you, verbal spat, you say I'm going to stop medication coming to you, okay, I'm going to stop the food going to you, let's say. And that's it. Instead of saying, no, I have the medication done in my country, I have the food made in my country. You can't have that. That's too much independence. That's why they create interdependency. So you can't go to war with one another. Global, together. Imagine all the people living in the hoo-hoo. Anyway, so here I said this. When this is going to happen, and it happened, Russia was kicked out of SWIFT and so on, a messaging app for the transaction banking app, that is. I said the Russians, and when they started placing sanctions on the Russian fleet, that is not the military fleet, the commercial fleet, for transport, for the insurance, I said the Russians and the rest of the world will create alternative institutions, insurance institutions, banking, communication. BRICS is already working on this. Then these guys will lose eventually because they cannot kneel the rest of the world, the big majority of the world. These countries are about what? 3, that's what they are. 4, they're owned. It's 4 or 5 countries that are owned. You don't have to own everybody. You own only the people in charge, the people who can smack people around, and then for you they will do the job. You don't have to own necessarily Romania, or no, you own France, and France will own Romania. You got it? That's how it works. And Romania will own Moldova, and so on. So it goes down the line. That's how it is. You don't have to own. These guys don't own everybody. They don't have to. Like the politicians, they don't have to convince everybody that they are telling the truth. They have to convince about between 30 and 40% of the society. That's it. The rest will come along. Why? Herd mentality. And we like to belong to the winner. We don't. Who wants to lose? Nobody. So if they tell you we're winning, a lot of people are, oh, I want to be on that side. Yeah, we're winning, man. We beat you up. Really? Or you beat yourself up? All right, let's read further. An estimated $300 billion worth of Russian sovereign assets were frozen by West following the escalation of Ukraine conflict in February 2022. Around 200 billion euros, which is $209 billion, is held by Euroclear, a Brussels-based clearing house. A foreign policy chief, Kaja Kallas, has repeatedly called for the funds to be tapped for Ukraine's reconstruction with Western companies, mind you, although some member states have pushed back on the idea. There's constant talk in the West, and I'm quoting, about how they are going to steal our money, end quote, Putin said at the Eurasian Economic Forum in Minsk on Thursday. And I'm quoting, as soon as it happens, the shift towards regional payment systems will accelerate and undoubtedly become irreversible, he said, adding that ultimately that would be a good thing for the global economy. And I'm quoting, maybe it's even worth paying the price for that, the president argued. So he said, let's do it. That's going to trigger something that's going to fuck you up. Putin added upon further reflection that the term theft was insufficient. And this is how logical this guy is. Theft is the secretive taking of property. This is open. This is robbery, he said. We are determined to continue strengthening our own financial and settlement instruments in this regard. The frozen funds have already accrued billions of euros in interest, $1.6 billion in which Euroclear transferred to Kiev last July to back a $50 billion on loan for Ukraine provided by G7. So, this is theft. This is robbery. I'm sorry, not theft. Theft occurs in a secret theft. This is robbery. I totally agree with that. So, this says do it, because if you do that, you're going to shoot yourselves in the foot. But if you look at the Germans, they already did this many times, especially by sanctioning themselves. That is, we're not going to buy cheap Russian gas because they can blackmail us, as Trump said. We're going to buy the American more expensive liquefied natural gas because they cannot blackmail us. No. Because if you pay attention, and I hope you do, Trump is not working on blackmails and threats. And bombardments. He's just a reasonable, calm, argument-based, factual guy. Really? Oh my God. All right, so this is it, my friends. Alternative institutions will come up. They will be funded, they will be created. They are working on bricks, and these guys know it. Do you think that the Trump administration, who is not by itself, decided to talk to the Russians because they are big-hearted and they care for the people dying in Ukraine all of a sudden and all that? Do you think that's the reason? If that thing in Ukraine, what's going on in Ukraine, does not hurt them in the future or currently, then they would not move on one finger. They don't do it for moral convictions or something. When Trump said, the bloodshed should stop. Really? Maybe yes, you can look at it that way if you want. The banks are here to help you. How about that one? That's exactly what Trump. Trump is over here to help us, and he just over there. I have nothing. I'm not bashing Trump per se, but I think the way the American system is at this point and has been for many, many years, it's a system that is owned by certain interests. That's it. And the system works in such a way that those forces need to be fed. And we are collateral damage. As an example, the interstate highway system. Do you think that was built for you to drive to California or somewhere to have a picnic? Do you think it was built for the population itself? To drive the cars? I don't want to say nothing, but most of the infrastructure developments that occur are made because of the business, not because of the human. You look at the things that way. We are just we use the highway because they build it so they can transport their military, their tanks, and the trucks. They're going to transport your food. It's not made for you to go see your grandma. They don't care about that. Zero. And the example is what? Look at the trains. Where are the trains? Where are the transport? Where are the buses? Where are the buses? Look in Europe, just differently. Anyway, I'm not saying those guys are better or something, but at this one, they are. I like this system more, just so you know. I like having my car instead of going over there with all the baboons in a fucking bus and I pay more, I work harder, give me my car. And I want to drive it the way I want it. I don't want you to give me any speed limits. Any. I don't like speed limits. I don't like them. You like them? You drive the way you want. I would like to drive the way I want. All right. And if you think you're safer than I am, well, how about we see? Don't anticipate. Thank you. Like I say, I think you look in a certain way. You look like a criminal right here. But I'm not a criminal. You might commit a crime. You have a gun? There you go. Arrest him. All right. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Robbery. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.